Hey, how you doing? Daniel Ruiz Tyson at The Writer's Life. I'm going to talk to you now about secondhand stuff, buying secondhand goods. If you're one of the few familiar with my work, it won't surprise you to know that I've just got too many OCDs, to be buying secondhand stuff. Although I do buy secondhand books, which I'll come to in a moment. I like the idea of being laid back enough to wander into any junk shop or secondhand bookshop on Charing Cross Road if there are any left, and leaving with a few books. But I don't think I've ever been that guy. I've tried to keep my bibliophilia in hand the last couple of years, keep the costs down by buying some secondhand books. They're called, or they're termed, used like new online. New does not belong in that sentence. If it's used, it's not new, and it's not like new. It's not remotely like new. Some of the books arrive in decent condition, some soiled as I expected, and I dig out the latex gloves from Poundland that I normally reserve for my library books to handle those books. I'm just, yeah, what can I say? I'm not that kind of guy. I wish I was. I've got a friend, Chris, who was I met in a job about 20 years ago. One of the all-time great work colleagues. To briefly, momentarily use an Americanism, a Hall of Fame colleague, a big man about the house fan. I think we bonded over that show. He used to buy, maybe he still does, he used to buy secondhand clothes occasionally, and he once turned up with a 1970s Adidas red top that looked like a Bayern Munich top from the 70s. The crew neck looked a bit uncomfortable, but he pulled it off. It was a lovely top. Could I have worn it? No. And the thing is that I never forgot what Chris told me. He said the problem with buying secondhand clothes, especially trousers, especially if they're hemmed, which I don't know too much about clothes, but I'd be very surprised if someone told me that at the moment it's fashionable in men's clothes to be wearing trousers with hemline. He told me, this is what Chris told me, you get a lot of dead skin in the hem, and that was enough for me. I've never bought any secondhand items, secondhand clothes, since I heard that. I don't think I'd bought any before, but that certainly clinched it. So I'm talking about this evening because tomorrow it's quite possible I'm going to be going secondhand furniture shopping with my aunt Spanish Carnu, she of the mysterious age. So my cousin's coming down. We're trying to sort her out a chair. She's decided now that, understandably, she'd like to save some money, go for a second-hand chair rather than something new. Um, my uncle isn't happy about this. He's like me when it comes to second-hand stuff, especially furniture. He does not want second-hand furniture in the flat. I mean, it's not just the second-hand furniture. Even I think even new furniture, there's a habit among these shops to display their goods outside, and I don't understand why they do that, because I'm not going to walk past a furniture shop and see a bed that's being displayed externally and think I'm going to buy that bed. You know, if I want to buy some furniture, I will start looking once I'm in the furniture shop. Once I'm inside, I don't want to be looking in the doorway, outside the shop. I've got no interest in that kind of furniture. And I remember years ago trying to buy a bed in a shop, and there was an identical one displayed outside, and I marked the one displayed externally with my key to make sure that when they delivered the bed, they weren't giving me that one. And they didn't. But, what would I have done had they delivered the bed that I'd keyed? What would I have said to the driver? Look, I know this bed was displayed outside because I've keyed it. I'm gonna pick up some kind of extra expense for keying their goods. But it's just something. I've got too many OCDs for the second hand thing. And my aunt would like my uncle to also buy a chair. You know, they're both sitting in very uncomfortable chairs. She was trying to push for my uncle um, to get one of those recliner chairs. My uncle used to have one about 20 years ago. He was never a big fan of it, but my aunt has seen that you can pick a second-hand one up very cheap. They were talking about this today. It kicked off another argument. My uncle has never forgotten that my aunt gave his recliner chair away to a terminally ill man, figuring it would make the man's final few months, a man they knew, it would make his final few months more comfortable. Unbeknown to my aunt, my uncle was trying to surprise her at the time by putting away money for a surprise holiday. He was stashing the money secretly under that chair. The chair, with I think about it was between 70 and £100 at the time, was delivered to the terminally ill man's house, and my uncle went mad. And I think while the guy was still alive, my uncle was just saying, you know, this guy, you know, he will have found the money by now. We haven't heard from him. He's said thank you about the chair. He hasn't mentioned the money. He knows the money's there. He's found the money. He's found the money. That's my money. The terminally ill guy was probably thinking at the time, well, what are they going to do? I'm dying. They're not going to ask me for the money. Maybe if they pulled my widower wife up after I've gone. I've gone. This is £70. I'm living out my final few months. I can do something with this £70. So that kind of kicked off again. It's still a sore point with my uncle. He's told my aunt she can buy a second-hand chair for herself, but no second-hand chair for him. And I suppose I see his point. You know, I think I would struggle in a second-hand chair as someone who's moved around a lot. Sometimes I've taken on tenancies where I've not had my own bed and I've had to sleep on some mattress that God knows how many people have slept on it. Similarly, you know, going back to the second-hand books things, you know, you hear these stories about rare book collectors, which sounds very romantic. It sounds great. But I'd rather have a brand new edition. You know, why do I want to buy a 100-year-old book that was bought by someone that died 80 years ago and has since been owned by other people that have died? It's, you know, and where's that book being read? So the second-hand thing is not for me. I don't think I can dissuade my aunt from buying the second-hand chair tomorrow. But, you know, that's on her. Please subscribe. Let's try and bring up these subscription numbers, and I hope that you have had a good day, and I'll probably catch up with you tomorrow. Take care.